Welcome back to the We Are City channel for today's pre-match preview of Manchester City's upcoming game away at St James's Park against Newcastle United. We did one of these for the Arsenal game. We're going to be doing these for all the Premier League games, possibly the Champions League games as well. As long as I'm around, I will do them. Unfortunately, on Tuesday, after the aftermath of the Arsenal game, when I pretty much lost my voice, I couldn't do one for the Watford game. But I am back, and we are here with a pre-match preview for this Newcastle game. I think this is going to be a really exciting game at St James's Park. It has been in the past, hasn't it? Was it 3-3 one year? We had a 3-2. There always seems to be goals at St James's Park. Newcastle, one of the biggest sides in the Premier League, in my opinion. They are a massive team, really, and they are on the trajectory towards getting to that top four level. I know they got there a few years ago, or 2 years ago now. They dropped off last year after a lot of injuries. They haven't quite improved the squad like I expected them to over the transfer windows. It improved their starting 11 either. And with these injuries, that means Newcastle are struggling. Excuse me. But maybe Newcastle over the next few seasons are going to get to the level they expect to, and which they can do. And with that amazing ground, that amazing city, that atmosphere, it's just unbelievable at St James's Park. I think Newcastle are going to be a top side. So a tough test for City this weekend. It's an early kickoff. We will be doing a live stream. We will be doing live commentary here on the channel if you want to listen in and hear every little bit of action. Let's get into our pre-match preview. Well, looking at the Newcastle side, they do have some injury issues within the squad, but the real big miss, I think, is Sven Botman. He and Fabian Schär built a really solid defensive partnership, didn't they, with Nick Pope behind them. And that is something that's cost Newcastle over the past few seasons, hasn't it? We've seen Nick Pope go out injured for a very long time. We've seen Fabian Schär injured quite a lot. And Sven Botman's been out for a very long time. I think he's got an ACL injury, similar to a player we'll move on to from Manchester City. So Botman not in the team for Newcastle. He won't be playing for Newcastle tomorrow. They will have Dan Burn possibly in there instead. They've got still a lot of good defenders, but I think that is a position where Newcastle wanted to improve on. Mark Guehi was the man they wanted, didn't they, from Crystal Palace. But no Botman is a good news for Manchester City, bad news I suppose to Newcastle, but they've been without him for so long. I don't think it's a big impact as perhaps one of City's injuries might be. Of course, the big talking point is Manchester City's injury to Rodri. Rodri, as we don't know exactly if it's an ACL injury, we don't know if it is just a ligament injury. Manchester City are saying it's a knee ligament injury. They're being very careful. Apparently one doctor has said it's very, very bad, and one doctor said it's not as bad as that. And this is something that does well with playing Newcastle, and we'll talk about Sven Botman, because Sven Botman, he had a partial tear in his ACL, so he didn't have the full tear. That's like 9 months, 12 months out. Sven Botman had a partial tear, and with a partial tear, you don't actually have to have surgery. You can sort of go through rehabilitation and be back within 3 months. And Sven Botman was back for Newcastle, I think within 8 to 9 weeks. Sven Botman was back on that field for Newcastle. But apparently, and this is only reading what doctors say online, and also the situation with Sven Botman of Newcastle, that a partial tear tends to most often turn into a full tear. So Botman had a partial tear, he came back, it turned into a full tear. He's had to have surgery, and now he's out for 9 to 12 months. And with Rodri, City have to be very careful that that partial tear doesn't turn into a full tear. It often does. So we're going to be out with Rodri. I don't want to be too pessimistic about the Rodri situation, but it does feel a little bit like season over. We know how important he is to Manchester City. If I had to say two players City couldn't do without, it's Rodri and Haaland, because we don't have a player that has the quality to back them up in that position. No Rodri and Haaland. Haaland, if we lost him, we have literally no goals in the team. And if Rodri, we lose him, we lose the spine of our team. And we have lost Rodri, which is absolutely massive. 10 minutes into his first start, coming back from a very long season. I wouldn't like to say I told you so, but I think a lot of City fans would say we told you so. We saw this happening. We knew Rodri was going to get injured this season. He's been playing too much. We should have signed someone to back him up, someone with good quality, and City might now have to go into the January transfer market and make a move for someone. And someone in this Manchester City side, in the squad, is really going to have to step up in Rodri's absence. I actually think, personally, Pep Guardiola is going to have to change the way we play, because there's no player that can do what Rodri does at all in this City side. Another big injury miss for Manchester City is Kevin De Bruyne. Apparently still out with a groin injury. He won't be back for this Newcastle game. Perhaps next week, next game after this one, we'll see De Bruyne on the bench, but he's not expected to be in and around the squad yet with a groin injury he picked up into the Milan game. And unfortunately, City's key talisman in terms of creating chances is going to be out. And City will have to look towards the likes of Grealish, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Ilkay Gundogan, someone else to create chances for Erling Haaland up top. Well, the key player for Manchester City, I do believe, in tomorrow's game is going to be Mateo Kovacic in that midfield, because he's filling big boots to fill, hasn't he, really? He has got to step in for Rodri, and everything is on Mateo Kovacic. Now, Kovacic is a good player. I really do like him. I do not think he's a holding midfielder. Some people who say Ilkay Gundogan can fill in that role. If you've watched Gundogan at the start of the season, I don't want to be pessimistic again on Ilkay Gundogan coming back. What a player. I think Gundogan has lost a yard or two of pace. He's not that player anymore. He played in the holding midfield role in absence of Fernandinho a few years ago. Great. I don't think he can do it again. Kovacic has got more legs to his game in terms of he can cover more ground, but I just don't think he's combative, but his reading of the game is nowhere near the level of Rodri, and I think Kovacic would admit that. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in our squad, barring maybe De Bruyne, maybe Rico Lewis, so I can see it with Rico Lewis, has the reading of the game that Rodri does. And Mateo Kovacic certainly doesn't. We couldn't play Lewis there because physically he's just too small, and any long ball is going to get done. Kovacic is a bit more physical, but I am worried. I am worried that Kovacic is going to struggle. I think he's a great player, and he's going to be played out of position. I don't want the fans turning on Kovacic and saying, oh, he's rubbish, he's not good enough. He's not good enough playing that position, if that's the case. But he's going to do his best, I'm sure. And also, Kovacic, he's a bit of an injury-prone player as well. He's got his injury issues of his own. So if Kovacic goes out injured as well for 2-3 months like we saw last season with an ankle injury, it could be something simple like that and he's out, then City are in big trouble, aren't they, in terms of that whole midfield role. There's literally no one who can play there, and City are going to have to look in the market for a player. But yeah, Kovacic is not only going to be a key player today in this game, today or tomorrow as it will be for the game against Newcastle. I don't know, I've got that mixed up. The game's tomorrow. He will be a key player this season, with Rodri pretty much going to be out for the whole of the season. And as for Newcastle, I'd say their key player going to tomorrow's game is going to be Alexander Isak. He's had a bit of a toe injury issue, hasn't he? And he hasn't started the season well at all. But Newcastle do believe, I think they're going to get him back to full sharpness over the next few games. And maybe this is the one where he kickstarts his season in the Premier League. He is, I think, behind Erling Haaland, probably the best striker in the Premier League alongside Ollie Watkins. Those three are the top three. I think they are away off Erling Haaland. I don't know if Newcastle fans would believe that, but I think Isak's amazing, but he's nowhere near Erling Haaland level. He isn't, but he is. Him and Watkins. I'd actually say I think Isak's slightly better than Ollie Watkins because of his all-round game in a sense. And you could say Haaland's all-round game, perhaps Haaland couldn't beat a man and dribble like Isak, definitely. But Isak cannot score like Erling Haaland. So that's what outweighs it. Haaland's goal scoring is just completely above. But we shouldn't be really comparing players. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Isak scores tomorrow at St James's Park. The Newcastle fans will be right behind them. The atmosphere will be rocking. It really will be. And there'll be plenty of motivation to push these players. And we have to look out for Isak. Him and Gordon as well, who plays off that left, a lot of pace. When we're going to have predicted starting 11, I'll talk about a little bit about Anthony Gordon at left-hand side because, well, who do we play at right back because of that? I've gone with maybe something you won't expect, or that Pep Guardiola might not go with, but I think he should go with, or I think he will go with. So let that confuse you. But Alexander Isak, a top player. Let's see how he performs. This could be the start of his season. So predicted starting 11. This is the starting 11 I think Manchester City will go with. Walker played in midweek, so I've gone with Rico Lewis at right back ahead of Kyle Walker. Walker's had two pretty much disaster classes against Arsenal and against Watford. He wasn't very good against Watford, really, either. Rico Lewis up against Anthony Gordon. That is a big test for Rico Lewis. Pace-wise, he's going to struggle. But Walker got done by Gordon last year at St James's Park. So I think Lewis, with Akanji next to him, will be okay. Akanji's got the pace, the physicality to help him out. Edison, of course, in goal. Captain Diaz and Vardiol, the back four. I don't think Phil Foden's going to come in. I still think that he's not quite there yet, and Pep Guardiola has seen that. So I think it's going to be Gundogan, Kovacic and Bernardo Silva in Manchester City's midfield three. I don't see the only other difference I can see is maybe Foden in and Gundogan not. But Gundogan, I expect Gundogan to play. I really do expect Gundogan to play with Kovacic and Bernardo in that midfield three. I don't particularly like that midfield three, if I'm being honest. I think we lack legs, we lack athleticism in that midfield three. And with Newcastle's midfield, I think they could get a bit around us there. We saw Brentford at the Etihad in that 2-1 win. They, in that first half, our midfield was torn apart because we just couldn't get anywhere near them. We didn't have the legs in midfield. And that midfield three, players all 30 and above, We just haven't got the legs. The front three, though, I'm quite excited about. Grealish looking pretty good at the moment. Looking better than Doku, I'd say, actually, despite me preferring probably Doku on that left-hand side. Savinho, who's surely going to get a goal at some stage, who is just electric. I mean, he's only, what, 20, 21 years of age. Wait till he's had a full season with Pep Guardiola. He is going to be unbelievable. I can genuinely see that. What does it mean for Oscar Bob, I suppose? Because Bob been injured. Bob would have started on that right-hand side. I'm sure Bob will get in there and they can battle together at some point. Bob, who was the hero at St James's Park last season with the 3-2 win. And then finally, Erling Haaland up top, of course. No one else can play there, so Haaland will play there. That's my predicted starting 11. As always, guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think? Predictions, score predictions. My score prediction is going to be a 3-1 win for Manchester City. I'm going to go 3-1. That might be too optimistic, but I'm going to go 3-1 win for Manchester City. Let us know your starting 11. Would you make any changes to that? Do you think Phil Foden will come in? Do you think he'll start? Who do you think is going to cause us problems for Newcastle? And also, don't forget to join us on our live this weekend for Manchester City versus Newcastle. Big game away at St James's Park, early kickoff, which will be a real entertaining one. That is the end of our pre-match preview. We will do a review after the game. Also, we will do the game as well, commentary here in the channel. And we'll see you guys next time.